Okay, so let's get started. Okay. How many of you already know what is TLS? Have you heard about TLS? Someone?
HTTPS.
Yes, HTTPS. Yeah, that is what I'm going to teach you. Okay, right. Okay. See here. So let's say this is a server running with an operating system, and if this server need to serve some website, we need to have some web server software, right? What is a web server? Server which serves a website, web page, right? So we people in internet using our mobile phone, laptop, we send requests to the server, and the server will send a reply, which is a website, web page. Now, in order to serve a website, the server needs a software. See, there is a lot of softwares. So Microsoft has Internet Information Service. In Linux, there is Apache, Nginx, and there is a lot of other companies, communities, they have made different softwares. But these are some of the popular web server softwares used around the globe. Okay. In today's session, I'm going to use this Apache. I can't give demo with all the softwares in a single day. Maybe we can plan with Nginx in some other day, or simulating what I am teaching today. You can try with Nginx. You can explore about IAS. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, I'm going to create a server, and I'll configure Apache. What is Apache? If you are not aware. So Apache is a web server software. It is one of the popular web server software. It is an open source web server software developed by a community called Apache Software Foundation. Okay. And so using this Apache, we'll be able to host websites, web application, and we will be able to access over the internet. See, we are accessing a lot of websites, and those websites are served with the help of some softwares like IAS, Apache, or Nginx. Recently, Nginx became number one, but next to Nginx, there is Apache, then Internet Information Service. Okay. Now I'll quickly launch an instance, and I'll make a basic web server first. Okay. Not going to spend a lot of time on that because in recent days, everybody knows how to configure a basic web server. Okay. First of all, I'll quickly launch an EC2 instance in AWS Cloud, and I'll make the Linux instance as a Apache web server. Okay. So I'll click on launch instance. Okay, I know that I'm going to make a web server. Okay, I'll give a name as Linux web server, WS. I'll go with Amazon Linux. With today's session, we can practice using Amazon Linux, or you can use Red Hat Linux. Okay, we can't use Ubuntu. The commands that I have documented in this PDF will work for Amazon Linux and Red Hat Linux. Okay. But the commands will slightly change for Ubuntu. But the concepts what I'm teaching will be helpful to correlate and try it on even Ubuntu sites. So I use Amazon Linux. So I'll go with Amazon Linux. I'll go with just one CPU, 1 GB RAM, a small capacity. I'll create a key pair. Okay, this is SSH key to log into the machine. I'll go with the name. You can go with any name. So I'll say webinar 2. Right? I'll click on create key pair. And this key pair I'll store somewhere in my desktop. Okay. May not need that key. Okay, then at the time of launching, this server is going to be created in AWS Cloud in North Virginia region. Okay. And at the time of creating, I'm mapping a security group. And this security group, I'm allowing HTTP protocol as well as SSH protocol. Okay, SSH is to log into the server. So from my home, if I want to log into this server, I need SSH. HTTP, people in internet, when they send requests to access the website will be served using the protocol HTTP. Okay, right. So I'll create a security group. I'll say webinar security group. You can go with any name again. I'll allow SSH from anywhere, and I'll add a security group rule for HTTP. Okay. HTTP, and source I'll say 0.0.0.0/0, which is anywhere. Okay, so which means this security group has SSH allowed, so you'll be able to log into the instance. HTTP allowed, so you'll be able to access the website. Okay, yeah, that's it. I'll click on launch instance. I'm not making any changes related to storage. I'll launch. Okay, so now we have a instance, and that instance have a security group. That security group has HTTP and SSH allowed. But do we have web server software inside it? No. The security group allows SSH and HTTP, but the server doesn't have the web server software. Only if there is a web server software, it can serve the web page. Okay. So because this is a server created in AWS Cloud, just after launching, we know that Amazon will give a public name. It's not easy, easily rememberable name, but we can change this. Today I'll change this. Okay, so I'll copy this public DNS name, and if I try accessing it, at this moment we get nothing. Even though our browser can send requests to the server, security group is also allowed for HTTP, but within the OS there is no software, no configuration to serve anything. Okay, so you don't get anything. So if you try accessing, and if you click on this continue to site, it says can't reach this page, right? Why we are getting this error? Because at this moment I don't have any configuration within it. Okay, now quickly I'll do a configuration. I'll make this server as a web server. Okay, see, I have the commands to make it as a basic web server. Basic web server. If you want to do it in Amazon Linux or in Red Hat Enterprise Linux, you can just copy paste these commands. Okay, so now I'll copy the first command and I'll execute within this Linux instance. Okay, so I'll select this instance. I'll click on connect, and to connect to the Linux instance, this is one way, EC2 instance connect. You click on connect via the browser itself. You'll be able to log into the Linux machine. Okay, Linux machine will be in pure command line. We need to type command to do configurations. Okay, now the first command, what I am going to execute is this sudo dnf install httpd-y. So this command is to install a software, Apache. Okay, I'll copy this and I'll paste it here. So what this command will do, this will install Apache HTTPD software. Okay, Even though I said Apache is the software, it's called Apache HTTP. Okay, HTTPD. Okay, I'll paste this command. Okay, so this will install HTTPD software. Okay, so you can see it is downloading software and it is installing the software. See, I just typed one command. Now, just after that one command, I said it will automatically create configuration file within /etc httpd conf /httpd.conf. So within this Linux machine, there will be a configuration file /etc httpd conf /httpd.conf. Okay, this file will get created automatically. This is the configuration file. Okay, right. Now this file will have a configuration by default. Just after installing shop software, this file will get created automatically, and this file will by default have a configuration. I'll open that file and I'll show you. Okay, I'm opening the file via VI editor. Okay, and if I keep on scrolling, it is a very big file. Okay, it has 374 lines. Now, if I keep on scrolling to a line called document root. Okay, so there is a line called document root. You can see here. It says /var www html, which means the directory out of which you will serve your documents, the directory out of which you will serve your websites. That's the meaning of it. Okay, by default, all the website requests will be taken from this folder. So I said in the configuration, so I said in this PDF document root is /var www html. /var www html is the default path of the website. Okay, yeah, now I'll save this. Sorry, I didn't make any change. I'll just come out of this editor and I look into /var www html. See, /var www html is a folder where you will have the website. But by default, see, we just did one step, right? We just did one command. So this one command, it will create this configuration. It will create this folder /var www html. Okay, right. By default, we don't have any data within the folder. Now, if you try accessing the page, will you get anything? No. Now you have the software inside it, but still it will not serve anything. If you refresh, okay, you get nothing. Still, you can see if you do a refresh, you get nothing. The reason is this machine now has Apache, but it has to run like a service. It has to serve the data, right? So it has to run like a service. So what we need to do is we need to start the service. So now within the folder /var www html, you have the you don't have anything, but you have the software. But in order for the Apache to serve something, okay, you need to start the service and enable the service. Okay, so I'll copy these two commands and execute. So I'll come back to the command line. So I'll type systemctl start httpd to start the service, and systemctl enable to permanently run the service. See, these two commands means that you're running the web server. You're running the web server, which means now it can serve the website. Maybe in the future, if you stop this server and if you start the server, automatically the service will start. For that only you are enabling it. Okay, I did two commands. Now after typing these two commands, now if you try to refresh, you get a page. Okay, it says it works. Okay, which means now we are able to access a page. See, I didn't place any page within /var www html, but by default, just after typing three commands, you get a page called it works. That's the default page, which means if you don't place any website within the folder /var www html, by default, you will get a message. You will get a page called it works. That's how Apache is configured in the backend. Okay. Now what I'll do is I'll place a website. Like normally we do in our regular classes, I'll place a website. I'll copy this command sudo dnf install git. Okay. I'll copy this command and I'll paste it here. Now what this command will do, this will install a software called Git. I'm installing a software called Git in this machine. Okay. All right. So I'll install Git. So it is downloading the Git software and it is installing in the server. Maybe people who have attended DevOps class, I might have installed Git in my local computer. So, but this time I'm installing Git in the server. And now what I'll do is I'll place a website. Earlier, we don't have any website within the folder /var www.html. Now I'm going to place a website. So I have a sample page in my GitHub repository. So if you go to github.com/Jarish, and if you go to this fruitables.git, this is a sample page which we normally use. Okay, I'm going to place this website in this server. Okay, I'm going to place this website in this server /var www.html. Okay, so the command to do this deployment is sudo git clone from my GitHub repository to the folder /var www.html, because /var www.html is the default path of the website. So if you copy that command and if you execute in the Linux terminal, okay, so this will clone my website in GitHub repository to the folder /var www.html. Which means now if you type ls/var www.html, you can see the website placed. See, this is a sample website which I normally use throughout my courses, regular classes. Which means before placing the website, it was saying it works, but now if I do a refresh, okay, you get a fruit shop page, right? Okay, so this is a basic configuration. I hope most of you know this. Maybe some new students may not know this, but most of you know this. If you have any questions here, you can ask, or else I'll move on. So hope you know how to configure a basic web server, right? So see here, I have a server, I have OS, I have Apache software installed, and following these 3, 4, 5 commands, I made a basic web server, and people in the world, right, people around the globe can able to use this endpoint and access the website. Maybe even if I share this now to you, you'll be also able to access the website. Can you try? You can try clicking on that link. You'll be able to access the website. Okay. Because the name given by Amazon is public, right? Anybody in the world can use this name. Now, see here in the top, what it says. It says it's not secure, right? It says your connection to this site isn't secure, right? Why? The reason is, by default, when I do this 3, 4 line of configuration, it installs software, it starts the service, it places the website, but it will have only HTTP protocol enabled. In this machine, there is only HTTP protocol enabled. Okay. Right. Now, HTTP protocol is not a secure protocol, which means from your mobile browser or laptop, if you send a request to a server which is just serving HTTP, it means somebody from internet, if they try to monitor what is the traffic between you and the server, they'll be able to monitor it, which means it is not encrypted. It will by default send the data in plain text. HTTP is by default plain text. See, for learning purpose, it is okay to have a website like this, but maybe in a real life, maybe when you're doing some online shopping or online banking, right? Let's say this is a ICICI bank page, and if you're trying to do some transaction, and if you get only HTTP, and if you're trying to use some values, if you're typing username, password to log in to it, or then after logging in, if you're trying to transfer some money. So whatever you're doing, if it is sending in a plain text, if someone else is monitoring, that is not considered good, right? Which means by default it is plain text. This is one problem. Now, second problem is if it is HTTP. In internet, there is some type of attacks. Okay? So it's like spoofing attack. So now what is spoofing attack? See, let's say this is the real page of ICICI Bank website. You want to access ICICI Bank website. Now let's say somebody launching a EC2 instance, configuring an operating system, placing a website, and they are making a very similar page like ICICI, and you want to go there, but somehow your traffic is coming here. They did a spoofing attack. Now they are giving a ICICI Bank website to you. Now your mobile phone need to know which is the correct website, right? Because if let's say if someone else is also giving a very similar page, right, ICICI page, you will get confused, right? Now, if someone else is giving a page, for sure in the top, it is not going to be like this. It is not going to be saying like not secure, or it is not going to throw some error like red, in red color. Okay. If it is a real ICICI banking page, you will see a lock symbol. It will say that it is secure. Have you understood? For example, let me directly go to ICICI. Okay. So I'm trying to go to ICICI Bank website. Okay, you can see it is not showing like. So it is not showing like this, right? Like our fruit shop page, it is not showing not secure. It is not even showing something else in red color. It is giving a proper lock symbol, and it says the connection is secure, which means you can now trust that you are on the right website. Have you understood? Now, why it is not there for this server? Okay, because within the operating system, I haven't configured secure protocol. Okay, which means if you just configure Apache following these commands, it will be a basic web server. It will work only in HTTP. Now, in order to make it secure, a HTTPS website, okay, secure website, what has to be done is, okay, the people who really configured the website, now within the operating system, they have to additionally add a protocol along with HTTP. They have to add a protocol called SSL or TLS. Okay. We write like this. Okay. So within this machine, along with HTTP, you need to have a protocol called SSL or TLS. Now, SSL is older protocol. Okay. SSL means secure socket layer, which is an older protocol. Okay. I have documented about that few points. SSL means secure socket layer. Okay. It is the original security protocol used to encrypt the data, which means if you additionally, along with HTTP, if you enable SSL, your server will become HTTPS server. And from internet, if you send request, okay, your data between your, the data between your mobile phone and the destination server will be always encrypted. Okay. But SSL is outdated. Okay. So it was developed in 1991 by Netscape, but SSL is deprecated and it is insecure today, even though it is a secure protocol. But in recent days, it is not recommended to use SSL. The replacement of this SSL is actually called the TLS. Okay. But even though TLS is started to be used for the last maybe 10, 15 years. But still, people will call SSL certificates or SSL. This word will be used, okay? Right? SSL, even though the real protocol in modern days TLS, people are still calling it as SSL certificates. Okay. Now, what is TLS? TLS is just the newer version of SSL. Okay. Now, along with HTTP, within the OS, I need to have TLS software. If I have that, then our website will become HTTPS. Have you understood? So TLS means transport layer security, is the modern secure replacement of SSL. It is a security protocol to encrypt data sent over the network. Most of the websites around the globe is using TLS today. TLS also has some version, TLS 1.2, and the current version is TLS 1.3. Any questions? Any questions? No, sir. Can we see how to configure? Okay. Now listen very carefully. Now, if I configure TLS, it will mainly do two things. Okay. One, it will prove that it is the right website, which means like I showed you for ICICI bank page, it will prove that it is the right website. That is one. Two is encryption. Okay, which means if I configure TLS within the operating system, and if I make it as HTTPS, by making HTTPS, what is really happening? Okay, the server will prove that that is the right website to the client. ICICI bank page proved that it is the right website. Very similarly, if I configure TLS within this OS, okay, this site will prove that it is the correct website. Okay, have you understood? That is one. Two, from the client browser to the server, whatever data which is exchanging, that will become secure. Okay, have you understood? Now, how this will work? Let's go deep. How this will work? How this TLS will work? Listen, there is a concept. There is something called TLS certificate. Now, I'll ask a question. Okay, see, there is around 14 people here. I'm asking Vishnu Priya. Okay, Vishnu Priya is here. How can I trust that you are Vishnu Priya? Right. So how can I trust that you are Vishnu Priya? So you will sometimes show me your Aadhaar card or maybe PAN card, right? You have some identity, right? You need to prove that you are the right person. How? For that only we have Aadhaar card, PAN card, right? Sometimes when you are going somewhere for a travel, right? You know you are Vishnu Priya, right? But maybe the airport authority, right? If you just say that you are Vishnu Priya, they will not allow, right? So you need to prove that you are the right person. Very similarly, so in order for this web server to prove that it is the correct website to the client, it needs something called a certificate. It's called TLS certificate. Okay, have you understood what is TLS certificate? The TLS certificate is actually a digital file. Okay, so it's like you can consider like Aadhaar card, PAN card, or Aadhaar card, PAN card for a web server. Okay, in order for the website to consider that that's the correct website, that server or the site needs certificate. Okay, TLS certificate. Traditionally, it's called the SSL certificate. Modern day, we can call it as TLS certificate. Now, how we will get the certificate? See, if I am really a hacker, I can create my own certificate. I can say that this is the ICICI bank page, right? I can say, if I'm a hacker, I can say that this is the ICICI bank page. I'll create a copy of ICICI bank page here and I'll say that this is the ICICI bank. Okay. It is possible. Okay. It is possible to create your own certificate. That is self-signed certificate. Okay. Which is not really secure. Okay. It is not considered as good. It is possible to create self-signed certificate. Okay. Self-signed certificate. Okay, I can create certificate myself, say that I am ICICI Bank page, and I'll put it or put that certificate within the server. And if someone from internet, if they are sending a request, I'll give the certificate saying that I am ICICI Bank. Okay, that it is possible to do that. Right? Maybe hackers will do that. Okay. But self-signed certificate is also used for some testing. Okay, self-signed certificate is okay for doing some testing, learning. Okay, but there is other certificate. There is something called CA certificate, Certificate Authority Certificate. Okay, self-signed certification is the first type of certificate, and there is one more certificate called CA certificate. Now, what is CA? CA means Certificate Authority. Certificate Authority. Now, who is that? Certificate Authority is a company or some government body around the globe. Okay, there is a lot of companies around the globe or communities around the globe. They are acting as certificate authority, which means if I am really the person owning ICICI Bank, now I need to contact the certificate authority and I need to get a certificate for my website. Have you understood? I need to contact certificate authority, get the certificate for my website, and I need to put that certificate within the server. So which means this certificate authority will be acting as a middleman between public and the server. Or have you understood? The certificate authority will be acting as a middleman between public, which is the people in the internet accessing the website via the browser, and the web server. Have you understood? Now, how it works? In a high level, very high level, I'll tell you. Let's say I have a page. I am creating a website for my company. In order to prove that this is a correct website, I will contact certificate authority and I'll get a certificate and I'll put that certificate here within the OS. That has to be done. Okay, I'll have some two certificates. Okay, or I have some certificates and that has a lot of files. Okay, okay, I'll put that. Now, people in internet, when they send request, what happens? This server will serve the certificate. It will not just serve it will not directly serve the website. Before serving the website, it will serve the certificate to the browser. Now the browser will check with the certificate authority. Okay, this site has given a certificate. Is it correct or not? Okay, it will verify like that. That's how we got this lock symbol. Okay, so now when I try to access some website and if I'm getting a lock symbol, it means our browser is actually checking with the middleman certificate authority and it is saying it is secure. Have you understood? Which means when I try to access google.com, my browser is sending a request to the Google server. Google server is sending a certificate to my browser and my browser is verifying whether the certificate provided by Google is correct or not. Have you understood? If it is correct, it will say connection is secure. If it is not correct, if the certificate is expired, expert certificates are there. Okay, so if certificate is expired, it will say that it's not secure. Have you understood? It says the site has a valid certificate issued by a trusted authority, and the trusted authority is the certificate authority. Certificate authority is a company. Have you understood? Any questions? So if you have any questions, you can ask. Have you understood what is TLS certificate? So TLS certificate is a digital file. Okay. How we can get that digital file? One, we can generate ourselves. That we call it a self-signed certificate, but self-signed certificates are not trusted. Okay. Now, in order for a website to be considered as trusted, we need to contact a company called certificate authority. Certificate authorities are companies or communities across the globe. There is a lot of companies like DigiCert, Let's Encrypt, Global Sign, even Google. Right, there is a very big list of companies. They are acting as certificate authority. GoDaddy. Okay, we can go to GoDaddy site and get certificates. Have you understood? Let's say I'm starting a business. I'm creating a domain, and now, in order to prove that my website is the correct website around the globe, I'll contact GoDaddy, buy a certificate for my website, and I'll put those websites within the OS. Have you understood? I understood what is TLS certificate and what is certificate authority. Who is certificate authority? Certificate TLS certificate is a digital file, and that is to prove that your website is correct website, and that is to make a that will make a encrypted communication between the client and the server. Okay. Then how we get this certificate? The trusted way is contacting a company like certificate authority, like DigiSign, GoDaddy. A lot of companies are there around the globe. We need to get that. Okay. If you have any questions at this point, you can ask. Or else I'll teach you now how to give a name to this server and how to request a certificate from a certificate authority, and how to make this sample website like a real website. Okay, how I can make this website as a trusted website around the globe. That I'm going to teach you. Okay, so shall I continue? So if you have any questions, you can ask. Any questions? No? Okay. Now, see here. See, there is different types of certificates we can get from certificate authority. Not all certificates are free. Okay, there are certificates we have to pay and get it. For today's session, I am using certificate authority called Let's Encrypt, which who will provide a free certificate for 3 months, and we can renew it. Okay, I'm using it for only demo. But bigger business, large business, they can't use Let's Encrypt, because Let's Encrypt will only provide website identity. It will make the client understand that the site is correct. But if you need advanced encryptions and other things, you need to go to some companies like DigiCert or GoDaddy, get some other advanced certificates. Okay, there is different types of certificates. Okay, I understood. But for today's session, I don't own a very big business now to show you to for this webinar. I am not going to purchase a certificate and show you. Okay, I'm going to use the free certificate. I'm going to use something called Let's Encrypt. Within this voice, I'm going to use Let's Encrypt as a certificate authority. I'm going to get some certificates from them, and I'm going to add those certificates to this server. This is what we are going to do for the next 10-15 minutes. Okay, yeah, let me do this. Now, before I do this, I need to have a domain name. I can't use, why I normally don't teach this in regular classes. I can't use for the name given by Amazon. Okay, I need to have my own domain name. Okay, so what I'll do is, see, I have a domain. I have a purchased domain in Route 53. In Route 53, I have a domain called EkasCloud-training.com. Okay, I have a domain called EkasCloud-training.com in Route 53. And for this server, there is a public IP address, which is 44 to 220 150 189. What I'll do is, I'll go to Route 53 and I'll give a name to this website. Fruits Demo. Okay, you can go with any name, but I'll go with fruitsdemo.ekascloud-training.com. Pointed to the public IP address, which is 44 220 150 189. Okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to create a record in Route 53 saying fruitsdemo.ekascloud-training.com pointed to the public IP address of the server. Now, by doing this, anybody in the world, little earlier, they were using the name given by Amazon to access the website. But now, after I make this entry in my domain, which I purchased, again, this domain is not free, which I have purchased. So anybody in the world can able to use the name. Okay, Now I go to this Route 53 service where I have a domain purchased, EkasCloud-training.com, which is a public hosted zone. I'll create a record. I'll click on create record and I'll say fruits demo. Okay, fruits demo.EkasCloud-training.com pointed to the public IP address of the server. Okay, I'll paste it here. Right. I'll just click on create record. Now, after creating record, anybody in the world now can able to access this same site with a name called fruits demo.EkasCloud-training.com. Can you try this? I hope you will get it. Okay. So you have to use this fruits demo.EkasCloud-training.com. So now if you try doing it, you will get the same page. Okay, again, it is not secure. I haven't put the certificates within the server. I have to do that because I haven't made that. Still, it says it is not secure. Okay, it's good. Okay, it's fine. I'll go with this at the moment. It says not secure. Okay, but now I have my own name for the site. We can't do it for the name given by Amazon. That's what I gave a name to this server. Okay, have you understood? Okay, so now in Route 53, we created a name fruits demo.EkasCloud-training.com pointed to the IP address of this server. Now, anybody in the world, when they send request by typing the name fruits demo.EkasCloud-training.com, the request will go to the server and this server will serve the page. But do we have certificates? No, I haven't placed the certificates yet. Okay. Now, before I generate certificate, again, I have some more commands to type. Okay. So we have four more pages. I have some more commands to do. Okay. See, I know it will be a little challenging, difficult for a beginner. Like I told you, this is not a configuration to be done at the very beginning of your learning career. It can be done after learning cloud, after learning Linux, some fundamentals. Okay. All right. Okay. Now I'll do some configuration. Okay. So I have created a record in Route 53. Now I'll do some configuration within the OS. Okay. So now I go back to the OS. I'll do a configuration. Okay. See, again, these configurations are not possible to do. You can't keep it in your mind and do unless you have a lot of experience in command line. I don't really have everything in my mind. I'm just following the document and doing it. Okay. See, we need to make a configuration within the folder /etc httpd conf.d. Within that conf.d, you can create a configuration file with any name. You can create a file with any name. So I'm going to create a file with the name fruitsdemo.conf. Okay. So what I'm doing, I'm creating a file within the Linux machine, within the folder /etc httpd conf.d with the name fruitsdemo.conf. It's a new file. Okay. Now within this file, I'll add this XML configuration. Okay. Again, it's not a program. It's just some human readable information. So people work on Apache, they will easily understand what it is. It means listen on any IP address, listen on port number 80. The server name is fruitsdemo.EkasCloud-training.com. Why? Because that's how I registered over the internet. Okay. So in Route 53, I registered fruitsdemo.EkasCloud-training.com. So I'll give that name here. And if someone from internet access this name, it has to go to /www.html. If someone from internet is accessing, logs has to be stored in this path. Okay, all those details are here. That's it. I'll save. I'll press escape:/WQ and save. That's it. Now, after doing this configuration, now in order for the Apache service to understand, you need to restart the service. Okay, I'll restart this service. I'll copy this command, restart command, and I'll go to the Linux machine and I'll execute. This will restart Apache service. Okay, the configuration is now updated to the application or service. Okay, I understood. Now, after that, okay, now after doing this configuration, now in order for the Apache service to understand, you need to restart the service. Okay, I'll restart this service. I'll copy this command, restart command, and I'll go to the Linux machine and I'll execute. This will restart Apache service. Okay, the configuration is now updated to the application or service. Okay, I understood. Now, after that, So after this, now finally, I'm almost at the end of the session. So finally, what we are going to do is we're going to execute two more commands to generate the certificates. I told you I am going to certificate authority called Let's Encrypt. Okay, so you can explore about Let's Encrypt. Let's Encrypt is a certificate authority that provides free TLS certificates. Okay, so for a beginner to get started with learning, you can use Let's Encrypt, and you can put TLS certificates on some basic websites, blogs. Okay, but like I told you, free certificates can be put on only basic websites. Okay, but if you need some advanced encryptions and other thing, you need to go with paid certificates. Okay, right. So you can explore about Let's Encrypt. Okay, right. Now I'll come back to the command line. See, from the command line, I'm going to request this Let's Encrypt for certificates. Now, in order to do that, there are some commands. Okay, see, there is a command called setBot. SetBot is actually a command which will do the automation of requesting the certificate. It says it will install the software, it will install some plugin, it will download some dependencies, it will add some timers. These are the things it will do. Okay, right. And I'll also install Python 3 setBot Apache, which is a plugin to add the certificates to the Apache web server. Okay, right. I'll copy this command and I'll paste it here. Now, what we are doing, we are just installing some softwares within this machine. Why we are installing? These softwares are going, these softwares, with this software, we are going to request certificate to the certificate authority. See, this is not requesting certificate. This is a command to install the software. And after the installation of software, using the command, we are going to request certificate. Okay, now let's request certificate. Now, to request certificate, you need to run a command. Okay, so I put here on 9th slide, it says certificate request. So we need to run a command called sudo setbot -- Apache. This is a command to request certificate from Let's Encrypt. Okay, so now coming here, I'll paste this command. Okay, and I'll hit enter. So this okay, so showing some error. There is some syntax error on line number so and so. Does not exist or empty. Okay, but I'll ignore it. It is asking an email ID. Okay, which means I need to prove that I'm someone who is using the certificate. So I need to use my email ID. Okay, so I'll use my email ID. Then after that, it is asking me to accept the terms of service. Okay, I'll say yes. I'll say Y. It is asking that once your first certificate is successfully issued, to share your email address with the electronic founder, which means that my email is actually registered there. That's what they are saying. Okay. Okay, so I'll say yes. Now, see, because I did some configurations little earlier, this configuration. Okay, so this configuration where I configured fruitsdemo.ekascloud-training.com, it automatically detected that this is the website name available within the configuration. It automatically detected it. It is asking which name would you like to activate HTTPS? For which domain we need to activate HTTPS? It is showing this site. This is the only site I have. Okay, I'll say number 1, which means I want this site to be made as HTTPS. I'll say 1 and hit enter. Now it says requesting certificate for fruitsdemo.ekascloud-training.com. It will take some time. What is happening in the backend? My server is actually contacting Let's Encrypt. And you can see here, it says successfully received certificate, which means now this server has certificate within it. It says certificate is saved at this path. This is actually the certificate. Okay. This certificate is also called a public key. We can call this certificate as a public key. And you can see one more key. Key is saved at this path. This is actually the private key. Actually, using this step-by-step instruction. Now I requested two certificates within the OS. One is public certificate and another is private certificate. It says it will expire. I told it they'll give it for 3 months. The certificate is valid for 3 months. After 3 months, the certificate will expire. Okay. And yeah, it says deployed certificate, successfully deployed certificate for fruitsdemo.ekascloud-training.com. Right. And it actually added some configurations within this file in the backend automatically. Okay, that's it. Now, if I go here and do a refresh, so I think I need to, after making this configurations, finally, I need to restart the HTTP service. Okay. I need to restart HTTPD service. So use the command sudo systemctl restart HTTPD. Why we are doing this? Because I have made a lot of configurations within the OS. That changes needs to be updated to the service HTTPD. So I'll restart. Okay. Now it is successfully restarted. Now once after restarted, now if you go to this page, fruitsdemo.ekascloud-training.com and do a refresh, it will try to access the website in HTTPS. Let's see. Okay, you can see it is trying to access the protocol https://fruitsdemo.ekascloud-training.com, right? But it's not reachable. Why? The reason is at the very beginning of today's session, I allowed HTTP and I allowed SSH. But now from internet, people are sending a request to HTTPS protocol. But HTTPS is there within the OS because I configured, because I added TLS certificates and did some configuration within the OS. So it became HTTPS. Now the OS has HTTPS, but the security group doesn't have HTTPS. So what I am going to do is I'll go to AWS security group and I'll allow HTTPS. I don't need HTTP protocol anymore. So I go to security tab. I go to this webinar security group. At the time of launching this server today, we allowed only HTTP. Now I don't need HTTP anymore. I'll change this to HTTPS because we configured HTTPS service within the OS. Now the port number is not 80, it is 443, and I am allowing from anywhere, and I say that's it. Now after this, again, if you do a refresh, this time, okay, like ICICI banking page, for this fruit shop page, you got the lock symbol. It says the connection is secure, right? I understood. I made a secure website. So I tried accessing the page. Earlier it doesn't allow. It was not accessing. Then I allowed HTTPS in the security group. Now I am able to access the website. Okay, so hope you have understood what really needs to be done within the OS to make a HTTPS website. So it's not just allowing the HTTPS protocol in the security group. Okay, because a lot of students, they will ask me, I'm allowing HTTPS, but still, okay, I'm not able to access through HTTPS. The website is not secure. Okay, allowing HTTPS will not give you a HTTPS website. You need to also have HTTPS within the OS. Now, what is HTTPS? HTTP with TLS or HTTP with older SSL, but SSL is no more. HTTP with the TLS is actually called HTTPS. Have you understood? Now my machine has both HTTP protocol and TLS protocol. Okay, so this is enough for the day. Now, what is really happening? People in internet, when they send request, it means this client will send a hello message to the server. Server will serve the certificate to the client. Okay. So saying that I am the right website, I am the correct website. Now, how the client will know that this is the correct website? The client's browser will contact the certificate authority. This person is giving some site certificate. make sure this certificate is correct or not. Okay, if it says that it is correct, okay, you get this lock. Okay. If it says that, if the certificate authority says that the certificate provided by the server is not correct, then you get some other message. Maybe after 3 months, if I do a refresh, the certificate might have expired. It will be still HTTPS protocol, but it will say that the certificate expired. You will get some red color error messages. Okay, have you understood? Now it says connection is secure. If I click this, it says the site has a valid certificate issued by a trusted authority. And if I click this certificate, okay, you can see here, this is the certificate. If I click on the certificate, it says common name is the domain name, which is fruitsdemo.ekascloud-training.com. And who provided the certificate? It is issued by Let's Encrypt, because within the OS, I gone with Let's Encrypt certificate request. Okay. And when we got the certificate today by around 7, actually, this is not 7:20, but why it is showing like this? 7:20, it shows like it is issued like around 7:20, but it's not 7:20, right? When we might have requested, maybe 10-15 minutes back, but why it is showing like that? Okay, I'm not sure why it is like that, but yeah, we can see there is a 3-month validity. All right, have you understood? And if I okay, so we can see some more details, right? Now see here, if I monitor, let's say I am somewhere in internet service, I'm working for, let's say, BSNL. And from BSNL, if I try to monitor what is the traffic sent from Jerish to the EC2 instance in AWS cloud, okay, I get nothing, because it also encrypts end to end. All the data between the client and the server is encrypted. Have you understood? Okay, so this is enough for the day. So I have taught you how to make a secure website, right, using TLS. I hope you have understood what is TLS and